ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week. Welcome back, Mr. Andrew McInnis. Life gets damn busy, and always health and family first as we wrapped up the summer into the fall. We're back, hopefully Tuesday, Thursday, maybe this week, and obviously Friday moving forward after this weekend on his channel here. And then Scotty Webb, we will be doing a recap of the 2 football games last night and some look-ahead lines. Lines already released, getting you ready for week number 3 already in the NFL. Week number 5 in college. But first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. And AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Steaks, seafood, chops, appetizers, wines. Terry's got it all. 4 subscription plans as well. Just set it and forget it. So enjoy yourselves. Head on over to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. So without further ado, let's see, go here. No, that's not going to work. Look at this. They're already messing with me here. Mr. Andrew McInnis.
What's up, Andrew? There we go. What's up, Jeff? How are you?
I'm chasing my tail. How are you?
You know, it feels good to be back with you. That's all I'm going to say. It feels good. Feels comfortable. Feels like a routine, and routine is important in life. So it's good to see you. I'll tell you what. Yesterday, the golf tournaments for all the NHL teams, the little golf charity events, the teams are back. Training camp starts in a couple days. So as much as we're pumped about NFL, college football, baseball playoffs around the corner, and I saw the headline for the show today. I mean, at least I'm excited for the playoffs this time around. You know what I get the most excited for, and of course, that's the NHL. So can't wait for that. Yesterday, I got to vent for a second because it was one of those days where every Monday morning I'm doing a prop show with Andy from Wager Talk and prep for the show, get my props ready. It's called Props and Parlays, and I said, you know what? I've had my Chargers team total bet sent out to clients for a few days. Let's just keep that as the only play of the day. Baker, over 1.5 touchdowns, comes in. Jacoby Myers, over on yards. Ashton Genty, under on rushing yards. Didn't give out any of those. And, of course, they would have gone 3-0. One of those days, everybody in the business understands how those go. And you feel good, I guess, that you were on the right side and you gave the content, but you want the big one to win. And unfortunately, the Chargers, Jeff, they didn't need more than 24 points to win that game last night. I think if you're betting team totals, correct me if I'm wrong, but it certainly helps you when the other team participates in the game, because the Chargers didn't need to score any more points, really, right? It was good the way it was.
And it's funny, I'm going to talk to you about this. I talked to Scotty yesterday about this. You know me. You've been doing shows now with me forever. I trust and respect the opening line. And here's 2 things that I got into last night's. The Chargers opened up at 3.5 for a reason. They were looking for Vegas money. They got it. a couple extra days off for this Chargers team. And as you says, it takes two to tango. And when you know, and they lost Khalil Mack early, but it didn't matter. You could tell right away the Chargers were going to have their way. Now, if they get into a shootout, the OK Corral, they can put up 30 with the best of them, but they have a good, solid defense. We know Jim Harbaugh loves to pound the rock, play keep away. Going to be a dangerous out. And flip it to the 7 o'clock game. Listen, we should have been 2-0 in the NFL. We had the Texans team total over 2.5. Second and goal from the 1, let's do shotgun and run it, get stuff. Third and goal from the 1, let's do shotgun and throw a fade and not get it. And fourth and goal from the 1, let's do shotgun again. And of course, they get stuck on stupid 19. If they get the 2-point conversion, now 21-21 overtime, kick a field goal by the Houston field goal kicker. We land on 24. We're holding hands and singing Kumbaya here, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So the spaghetti strainer gets you. And for us, unfortunately, 1-1 in the NFL. Before we jump into some other topics, you started with NHL. You got to be getting excited. The golf tournament's behind you now. It's almost preseason time. Hab country, listen, we know where our eyes are going to be a lot this year on them. Listen, I think they're going to be a force. I'm not saying that they're just going to come in and overtake Florida or a few of the other, but they're going to be in the thick of it throughout the whole year.
I think so. And the biggest thing about them, Jeff, is going to be the start of the season. Last year, their October, November was not good whatsoever. The fact that they made the playoffs as well as they played in the second half of the season, you don't want to be in a position where you're cheering for other teams to not do well. That's the big thing that you don't want. I mean, you want to be looking at the team and having their success. You don't want to be monitoring what other teams are doing. The health of the team, really good so far. I mean, so far so good with the players. Kirby Doc going to be back, and it's a very competitive camp, Jeff, but also a healthy competition for a handful of players. The overall team depth seems to be at a really good point at this moment. If there's one thing I can mention from a sports investing perspective that I learned yesterday from watching all the interviews, the Montreal Canadiens and the president of hockey operations, the general manager, and the coach, Jeff, this team, they're ready to be buyers. Like they already were buyers in the offseason with Bolduc and picking up Noah Dobson. They've pretty much said, hey, it could be in October. It could be at the deadline. It could be in December. They're not done. You know, they just got Carey Price's contract off the books. There's a handful of contracts they have. They got a ton of cap space. They want to see how Kirby Doc does as their second line center when he's back and healthy. But from a futures perspective, look, I'm not going to get carried away, but just from a perspective down the road, looking at this team, they're not done rebuilding this roster by any means. So that's kind of exciting to look at here.
Yeah, and I'll just say this, Andrew, with kid gloves. You're not the young kids in the back of the bus. You know, a couple of years ago, make a run unexpected in the playoff chase. You have so much young talent. I know you're quote-unquote a young team. I get that. But I'm going to say this kind of tongue-in-cheek. I'm in Boston. I know our team's going to suck this year. I do. It's a fact. But the fact of the matter is, I'm going to say it this way. Agree or disagree, I think your Habs are going to come with a target on their back.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Jeff. That's been a big part of it. A lot of people have been saying is that this year it's not like, oh, we're playing the Habs, it's going to be a night off. You know, there's going to be more of a target on their back based on the success they've had. And there's going to be a target on Demidov's back, I would say. You know, the young phenom. I think there's going to be a target on his back because players in the league are seeing the success he's having already just in the playoffs or the regular season last year, or even the rookie showcase. He scored a nice goal there. So, yeah, there's going to be more of a target on their back, but they also are going to have more skill here.
All right, before we get into some NFL, some MLB, as you said, the headliner, temperature in JAYS country, we're going to get to that. I'll let everyone sit and simmer on that one there. But the fact of the matter, CFL still going on. Been a tough. I've kind of slowed back. Not that I'm not still watching. I'm not like I'm still not following the numbers. Hit some rough patches there. expect the unexpected in any sport here. Give us the landscape of the CFL as we currently speak.
Yeah, personally for me, Jeff, it's been a lot of like 1-1s. Been a lot of like batting 500 lately, which you take it for what it is here a little bit. But the big story I'm going to say for the CFL, Jeff, you and I always talked about together how never give up on this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team. Never think they're out of it. And well, we can blame some quarterback health issues, but this is about as weak as this team has looked in maybe as long as you and I have been doing shows together, really. They really have fallen off quite a bit. Calgary, I still can't believe the price we got on them many months ago. But at the end of the day, they were going into the bye week, and some stuff not looking good for them as well either. Ottawa continues to be that bottom feeder. How about Toronto in the East? I mean, if again we want to look at the futures perspective, and if anybody's still paying attention to CFL, Toronto was kind of like that laughing stock going into the year. Nobody really knows what they're going to do, even though they've been to the Grey Cup so many times in the last handful of years, won Grey Cups. They're still a team that's been able to get the job done a little bit here. How about Hamilton? I mean, Hamilton has been a team that, again, came in with not really too high of expectations. Their defense, nobody really believed in it. Sure, maybe they've capitalized off injuries to the Red Blacks, to the Montreal Alouettes with Davis Alexander and all the wide receivers being out for them. But Hamilton has kind of solidified themselves as one of the top dogs in the East. So super excited. And I'll tell you what, I almost texted you over the weekend, but you and I have been talking too much CFL together. I still should have sent you the message, but the Elks, I mean, Jeff, 31-30, they lost. Like that would have been the biggest game of the year for them so far. And I was just looking up the box score here. They were up 14-3 at halftime, and they lose the game 31-30. And they were plus 3.5 in that game. I ended up laying off the point spread. Could only imagine for people that had the sprinkle on the money line, though, in that game, how you'd be feeling going into that one. But it's exciting, and I'll tell you what, looking at the schedule for this week, looking at some of the games here, there's one thing that sticks out for me, and it's the Edmonton and Hamilton one. At the end of the day, Edmonton in this role has been really, really strong. Last week against Toronto, plus 3.5, as I mentioned, 14-3 at half, plus 3.5. They end up still getting the cover. Hamilton coming off a win in which, to be honest, I was a bit disappointed in because I did back the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But I think we have to look at the Blue Bombers and say, you know what? They just weren't good. Chris Bevler wasn't very good, and maybe it's not the almighty Blue Bombers we once knew them to be. Maybe the Edmonton Elks can hang around here. I always like backing plus 5.5 here, but I'll tell you, I think Hamilton's number could get bigger. Right now at FanDuel, it's shaded towards the favorite. If that gets to 6.5, you can sign me up for that one. The BC one is quite interesting, plus 4.5 for them. They're coming off a game where they put a bunch of points up on the board. And so you kind of have to ask yourself, they just put up 38 points against the Red Blacks, gave up 27 of their own. At this point, are we crazy to just not bet the over in every single BC Lions game that gets played? I mean, the last couple scores here, 36-18, 52-34, 34-33, and 38-27. Maybe we're too late. It's one of those trends, Jeff, where you don't want to get in after it's already hit 4 times in a row. But at this point, this team's putting up a lot of points. It's been now a handful of weeks where they've hit their own team total over just individually themselves. Could be a move in that game.
NFL, I know you're a diehard Packer team. There's no 21 and 22s to ones out there anymore. Since the trade for Micah Parsons, they shot right down to 11-1. Got fat at home, dismantled the Lions, and then again a very impressive win again on Sunday, 2-0. Jaden Reed out 4-6, maybe 6 to 8 weeks. It's always the wide receiver core banged up, but you got a stellar defense. Jordan Love Don't turn the ball over. You got a decent back there, running back duo back there. I know you're going to be happy. I've seen some 6-7 to ones is now. I think they're the third favorite behind Philly and Buffalo. Probably they're probably ahead of the Ravens as we speak with one loss there. Going to be a proud dad moment so far. Thoughts on your Packers?
I'm excited. I'm especially excited defensively, looking at the stops that they've gotten. I think that's been huge. Looking at the Commanders that were coming into that game, people were talking about what they bring to the table and the offense that they have. But, I don't often bet on my own teams. And you're going to find out this year with the Montreal Canadiens and maybe even the Green Bay Packers how much I am going to start betting on my own teams a bit more. But it's been mostly the defense that I've been impressed with this Packers team. As you mentioned, Jeff, at the start of the year, I said to you, the biggest enemy for the Packers is their injuries, is their health. It's always tough when you have a team dealing with that. But the good news is they do have a relatively spread out offense. They're going to miss Reed, but they do have a bunch of guys they can get to. How about Tucker Kraft? I got him in one of my fantasy teams. Man, oh man, he might have won me the week. Then you got Luke Musgrave. You got multiple options out there are available. So, I'm curious for you, Jeff, how do you feel about them kind of changing roles now this week, not just being asked to win or win by a few points here? They're being asked to win by a handful.
First game on the road. They get to travel to Cleveland. Look ahead line 7, now 8.5. Again, fully expect them to win this game. But again, you got to cut your teeth. You have a target on your back. Personally, right now, I think all around, they're just as good, if not better than Philly. I talked to one of my colleagues earlier yesterday, and I says, hey, neutral field, I think Philly would be 1.5 point favorites, and I would lean the Packers here. But it's a long season, and what do you have the benefit right now as we speak going into week 3? You already 1-0 against the Lions. J.J. McCarthy out 2 to 4 weeks. I don't think Kevin O'Connell's happy with what he's seen the first 2 weeks. The Bears, let's just be honest here. Ben Johnson eventually is going to go upstairs and say, hey guys, Caleb was your guy. He's not my guy. And if they keep on losing the way they are, not that he's going to bench Caleb, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them go 4 to 6 quarterbacks coming out in this year's draft in the first round. He says, hey, that's my guy. I'm going to get him. Now, do you want to trade Caleb now? But the division's setting up real nice with it for you.
It really is. I think that, from a prop perspective, I'm curious to see, Jeff, if we're going to see a little more checkdowns and shorter passes from Caleb Williams. Like, I wonder if that's really in his bag, like in his identity. And also, I mean, you talk about Ben Johnson and not being happy with Caleb Williams, but at the same time, maybe Caleb Williams isn't happy with Ben Johnson. Maybe they have to be a little bit, and the reason why I say that is because maybe they just have to simplify. Maybe Caleb Williams isn't capable of doing what Ben Johnson was doing in Detroit. That's kind of what I'm starting to wonder. And don't get me wrong, Caleb Williams has overthrown, underthrown, missed his targets. But I'd be very curious over the next few weeks if they keep running the same offense or if they have to mix things up and keep it more simple, because he's certainly not getting the job done. But yeah, to your point, this division is setting up pretty nicely for them. And that, you don't like to say one win is so important, but man, that one win over Detroit is huge. And it wasn't just a game-winning field goal win. It was a pretty strong win. So you do love to see that there from them. You know what? I always tell myself, unless it's a prop play, don't give out last-minute side plays. This past Sunday, we like talking about our losses and wins. I was like, you know what? The Ravens are not going to be happy, but I feel like the Browns could stick around. Gave out the 12.5. Oh, my God, thanks for playing. It was like a slow bleed. Like, oh, we're covering, we're not covering anymore. And then it was just an absolute blowout. So curious to see what this Browns team has to offer here. A lot of rest for the Packers, which is going to be nice coming into this one. I'll tell you what, Joe Flacco over on passing attempts seems to be a winner every single week. I mean, if you're getting +8 with them, they're not going to be able to run the ball very much. Let's just watch them throw the ball. That's my early play for that one.
Let's go to the headline. Temperature in Jays country, a nice comfortable lead, less than 2 weeks to go. You are actually potentially chasing the Tigers for the number 1 spot here. Overall, all eyes will be in Detroit. on Thursday. Skubal says he's going to make the next start. If he has to shut that down, then there goes the Tigers' hopes. Yankees lose last night. Red Sox off, host the Oakland A's today. Give us the temperature in Jays country.
Well, I think, looking at the guy we had come out there last night with 9 strikeouts, 5 innings pitched. I mean, that's impressive. That's good to see. And I think that, this team has been able to deal with pitchers having poor performances, pitchers playing well, guys being cool, Vladdy having a couple off games, then coming back and being super hot. So the temperature right now, Jeff, I think everybody in Jay's world is about as cocky as they've been all year. People know that this team can come back from poor starts in games. They can put up runs. They can win low-scoring games. So it's exciting. I said to you all year long, all that matters is September baseball. Well, we're talking right now, it's September 16th. They're still hanging on here. Who do you think for them is going to be their biggest test when it comes down to it? Do you think still that their rotation is going to stick with the old guys? They're going to rock. I mean, where would you have Bieber in the first playoff series rotation?
Well, it's funny because here I was going to say to all the youngins, get your Google out, because I was going to say Dave Stewart, Roy Halladay, Dave Stieb, Joe Carter. They're not walking through that door. And it most likely you could face the winner of Yankees and Red Sox. I think the Red Sox have a bona fide ace with Crochet. Yankees can throw out Rodon. They can throw out Max Fried. Your struggles were on the back end not too long ago. Bo gets hurt. You put the leaks out. You kind of want to stay steady and get hot. I trust Bieber. I really do. Yeah. I don't know after that. I mean, you got some arms. You guys can win 3-2. You can win 8-7. So it's going to be funny who's standing if it's the Red Sox, Yankees, and then one of them travels to Toronto.
Yes, well, that's the thing. And I think that when you look at these older guys, the question is always going to be, is when do they get pulled from the game? How long are they expected to go into the game? Because if you look at it, every year for the Blue Jays, for me, growing up, watching them and going in the playoffs, it's either been an unbelievable bullpen or a poor starting group. And so the question is, if you see Bieber in the 5th inning start having some trouble, do you let him battle it and fight adversity, or do you yank him? And we saw that happen a few years ago with Gossman, where he battled adversity, they yanked him, and then I can't remember who they let in for him, Jeff, but then he came in and just ruined the game for them. So it's about trusting your guys, but I do think it's about having a game plan as well. I think Bo Bichette's the key to this Blue Jays team. Like, I hate to say this because it's kind of, you see this more in like NBA and hockey and football, but he seems to be the vibes guy. If he's in a good mood, if he's smiling, if he's having fun, this team's doing well. If he's not performing well, it seems like the team doesn't really rally around him. But he can be kind of risky there at short sometimes. But I still like him, of course.
It's Tuesday. We're going to figure out later on in this week when I can get back on your channel this week. I will be probably dark on Friday. I got to head to Salem, Mass for Food Truck Festivals of America Friday through Sunday up there. But we're going to get back into our routine, obviously starting the following week on our Tuesday, Friday slate early in the week. His is usually when in November, December, January. Pucks, props, and thoughts, but I'm going to say to you, with the NFL, with the CFL, with baseball, anything that you can throw out the listeners right now before we, head over to Wager Talk and go behind the paywall.
I'm going to ride with that Edmonton play. Look, I know it's their second straight week in the CFL. It's second straight week on the East Coast. But last week, being up 14-3, I was a little bit hesitant to back them. Honestly, I thought about taking Toronto on their team total. Either way, this Edmonton team is giving up points, but they can also score. And I think if this number gets to 6.5 even, it's definitely going to be a play for me, as I don't even think it will hold at this 5.5 number. I like the Edmonton Elks going into Hamilton. Hamilton's got to be feeling good about themselves. A strong win for them last week, containing their opponent, but again, facing an injured quarterback. they're facing a healthy Edmonton team. One thing that Edmonton's dealt with, Jeff, or had, I guess, to benefit them, I should say, is they've been healthy at least. They might not be the most talented team in the league, but at least one thing they've had going for them is that they've been pretty healthy. I'll tell you what, Cincinnati, for me, on the money line, I'm going to look for in the NFL. This will be the week I look for it. They're going to have success. People will want to fade them probably after Jake Browning looked damn good after coming in for Burrow. And then moving forward after that, we'll probably want to go against them. Usually it's that 1 week after the injury takes place. You back the team. There's a little bit of a spark. There's that level of focus and game plan. And then you go against them after that. So probably be looking towards back in Cincy in some way, shape, or form. Wouldn't talk anybody off the under in that game by any means. It's at 42.5, 42 now is the best number you can get there. And I'll tell you what, your New England team ruined a real good Sunday for me. Ruined a real good Sunday there for me. I had the Miami Dolphins on the money line there. And I guess I should say Devon Achane might have ruined a real good Sunday for me. But having said all of that, I'm going to take the under 44.5 Pats and Steelers. One of those times where you look at week 1 for the Patriots at Gillette, not much offense in that game between them and the Raiders. Week 2, holy smokes, who's this team out here putting up 30-plus points on the Miami Dolphins? Week 3, I'm going back to the under there. I know the Steelers, that Rodgers and Metcalf connection, you got to love it. Who would have ever thought we'd be saying that, Jeff? That's what makes sports so great. Steelers, Rodgers, Metcalf connection. Never thought we'd be saying that, but I do think even though it's only week 3, we see some offensive regression. I'll take under 44.5, Pittsburgh and New England.
Well, as we always wrap up the show, I give you that nice, tight 7-yard button hook here. Tell everyone they know where to follow you, of course, on X at McInnis Picks. They know where to head over to Wager Talk, WT.buzz/AM. What do you got for them, Andrew?
I appreciate it as always, Jeff. It feels like I'm back at home being here with you this Tuesday morning. $5 Tuesday as always. You can get one play for $5. But I'll tell you, this deal that we're doing at Wager Talk now, going on for the next handful of weeks, actually, it's called the Weekend Warrior Special. So for $49, you're going to get any football play that I release. As you know, I don't really do college football, so everyone's going to get CFL and NFL for me. And for me with NFL, you could get props, you could get a team total, you could get a side, you could get a full game total. So it's $49. One 5% play, and I'm looking like I might have one 5% play at least this weekend, is $35. So for $49, you're going to get every single play across the CFL and NFL landscape in one package. Go to my profile page, wt.buzz/AM, and you just click that Weekend Warrior Special, and you'll get every single football play sent right to you.
Well, it's great to be back. Have a great week. We'll be in touch throughout, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thanks so much, Jeff. Take care.
Take care. Andrew McInnis, please go follow him at McInnis Picks at Wager Talk. Take advantage of that $49 special Weekend Warrior. We've been doing shows forever, and we're back. Hockey season right around the corner. You might want to take an advantage also with his hockey plays as him and I go crazy on team totals, first period overs, etc., etc. Quick commercial break. When we come back, Mr. Scotty Webb. Stay tuned. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Welcome to Good Food. At Atlanta Steaks and Seafood, you'll find the highest quality meats from a variety of delicious cuts. Tomahawks, salmon fillets, ribeyes, and plenty more to choose from. With an easy-to-use, mobile-friendly website, selecting your pick of meat is made quick and easy. And don't forget, worrying about your dinner is a thing of the past. Check out some of the amazing subscription packages that Atlanta Steaks and Seafood has to offer. From fresh steak and seafood straight to your door. Order online at atlantasteaksandseafood.com.
Well, me and Scotty back on our rotation. We were on here yesterday around 9:15 talking about the weekend recap, talking about the two games last night in the NFL. We're back today. We'll be back on Thursday as well. So without further ado, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, champ?
Hey, Chief. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. You know, it's kind of funny. I trust and respect the opening numbers. The Chargers 3.5. They only can go one way, and they got their money on the Raiders. You could tell right away, even with the Khalil Mack injury, that Harbaugh and company were very comfortable with their game plan. It was going to be tough for the Raiders to score. But where I want to start my vent is I had Texans team total over 22.5. And you know, we talk about analytics. We talk about nerds. We talk about, guys, I'll call it stupidity at this point. Second, third, and fourth down from the one. Let's do shotgun. Let's run it once and heave it twice. And they don't score, but then they do come down and score. And I'm like, just get the 2-point conversion, get to 21. And then if Tampa comes back, and they did score, extra point, would have went to overtime at 21-21. Field goal, I walk off, I'm a hero, and 2-0 in the NFL last out. But my point is this. At some point, just from an eye test, Green Bay, Philadelphia, Buffalo, and I'm going to throw Tampa Bay. That's two tough road wins. Atlanta, and now on Monday night in Houston. Houston has problems. They can't run the ball effectively. Their O-line is not that good. And it's Nico Collins in a cloud of dust. But those four teams I talked about, and Tampa Bay, if they get this type of play from Baker Mayfield, for the well-roundedness, they're a top 4, top 5 team in the NFL, Scotty.
No, I don't know if they're that high, Jeff. I mean, I get it. Look, Baker Mayfield. Everybody can say what they want to about Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is the heart and soul of that team. He is the grit of that team. He's the guy that won't quit and won't let his players quit. And, you know, he goes out there and does stupid stuff half the time. But the reality becomes is that he's a winner for them. He might not have been a winner for certain other teams, but for this team, and you know what? Maybe, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm just guessing. Maybe as he came in, who did he replace? Well, he replaced Tom Brady. Tom Brady set the attitude right in Tampa. And then he comes in and carries it forward, doesn't have to do a whole lot, gets more buy-in, gets the guys to buy into him, and now they all love him. Like he is a loved commodity here. Now, I will say this about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Two things. A, I think they have an offense that'll play with anybody. And, and I mean that in a sense that they're still and I said this yesterday, you know, all we talked about here locally is that Wirfs was going to play, and he didn't. And so was Godwin, and he didn't. They practiced all week. So those guys are right around the corner, and this offense is going to get that much better with those guys in it. So I think offensively they can play with anybody. I think defensively, and you know, everybody around the country really likes Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator. I think he's just good. I mean, I don't think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. They have certain players that do certain things. And those certain players are key to their defense. And if their defense stays around, you know, I don't think Tampa Bay really has a problem trying to sit there and say, I'm going to go outscore you either. I think if they got into a shootout with somebody, they're okay with that. And if, like last night, a game that was 20-19, I think they can play those kind of games. So, you know, it's interesting. I think this kid Ibuka is going to be something special for them this year. And, you know, I don't think they've really worked with the tight ends yet much. So I think you're going to see some of that. I think they're going to keep going. You know, like they play the Jets at home. This will be their first home game. And, you know, Justin Fields had a concussion, so I don't know if he's going to play. So, you know, the numbers, I think 5 or 6 or 5.5 or something like that. Look, the Jets can play defense, but, you know, my thought is this is they're going to go 3-0 after this week, and then I think they play Philadelphia or somebody after that.
Well, my thought with Tampa, and they remind me similar to, is like a Green Bay Packer, a Philadelphia, where they can play both sides of the balls. And the fact of the matter is that Booker has stepped right in. Godwin, by the way, the initial reports was week 5. He's out there practicing. There's no need to rush him back right now with the way Ibuka's playing. You still have Mike Evans. You got Bucky Irvin. You got Rashard White. You got Baker not turning the ball over. And the defense, Todd Bowles is good. Okay, he's not Brian Flores good, but he's good. And when you're putting pressure on the quarterback the way that you can play two styles. Exactly what you said. Hey, we're going to go out there. First one to 33 wins the game. You have no problem doing that. But on the same side, first one to 23, you can play that style as well. And to start the season, you saw what Atlanta did in Minnesota. That was a hard-fought comeback win that you had. Now you go to Houston, who was 0-1, a hard-fought loss in L.A. Now it was a sense of urgency on that side. And you listen, the score I don't think was indicative. I thought Tampa controlled the ball. Listen, Houston came down and scored a touchdown and a field goal, and then you went on a 9-minute drive. I mean, you can play keep away with the best of them. So my point is, you're only going to get better. You're only going to get stronger. You don't need to rush Godwin back. This team is not going anywhere, Scotty.
No, plus they play in a division that they can win, and they've got the advantage over Atlanta already. So what's Carolina going to threaten them? No, I don't. Their threat was Atlanta. They beat Atlanta. So I don't think there's going to be too much of an issue with Tampa making the playoffs. What they do in the playoffs and where they go all depends on health and how good those guys hold up to be at the end. But I like it. One of the things I talked about yesterday is I like to bet on teams that have good offensive lines, good defensive lines. I think Tampa has that. So I think the general manager there, Light, has done a really good job of keeping that team growing and building, and filling voids and doing the things that he needs to do. And that team is I think they're built right. They have depth and they can do different things. So I liked it, in the other game. So I didn't bet that game, but that was the game I was looking at to go under the number, but I didn't bet it because I thought it was going to be close. And I thought the line was going to be close. So I just, I didn't bet it. But I did bet the Chargers last night, and we talked about it yesterday, I just said I like to bet on good offensive and defensive lines. The Chargers are built right. They have a great defense, and if you're a team that allows the fewest points in the NFL, like they did a year ago, and now you're only, you're not allowing any points again this year. And you're putting pressure on the quarterback, and you can cover the wide receivers and do all the things that they do. A team like the Raiders don't stand a chance, and they don't stand a chance. But theoretically, they were sort of in the game, but they really weren't. Scoring wise, what was it? I think 11 points or something, 20-9 or 20-9. I think was the game. I think that the Raiders defense played better than I thought they would. And at the same time that I tell you that, if I agree with the statement one of those guys made on and I don't know who it was because I don't know who these guys announcers were last night, but one of them said, "Hey, look, the way this defense is playing and the way this quarterback is playing, Herbert for San Diego or the Chargers. Truth of the matter is, you've got Buffalo in Kansas City at the upper echelon in the AFC, right? I mean, that's who's there. Well, where does this Chargers team fit into that? Now, I know, at the beginning of the season, everybody was, saying the Broncos were better than and then they might even be the favorites to win the West. But I think the Chargers are as good as are better than those teams. I watched Buffalo play, and I've seen them. They've got a dynamic quarterback, but they play good defense. Baltimore plays great defense, right? Kansas City, I think, is kind of on the tail end. But I think if those are the top three teams, I don't think you can say that the Chargers are very far behind. I mean, I really don't. Now, their point was, and it was a very well made point by one of the former players, was, look, you can say that all you want to. And that might be very well true in the first 6 games. It's what they do at the end of the season. And when you talk about Buffalo and you talk about Kansas City and you talk about Baltimore, that's when they win. They're winning at the end, after all the games and getting beat up and, and all the stuff that they have to go through. And the Chargers have never been there, never done that, never been in that spot. So we'll see how it lasts and how it goes. But early on, look, I think they're a play-on team for sure.
Yeah, and you look at the makeup now of the AFC West. Chargers have already beaten the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 0-2. They travel Sunday night to a must-win at the Giants. The loser of that game is 0-3. Thanks for playing, as we all know there. Denver 1-1. They travel to the Chargers. Home opener. A good, I think most people, line opened at 3, already went to 2.5. It's a good buy spot on Denver coming off that loss. And the fact is, short week now for the Chargers. The Raiders are 1-1 now. So that division right now, Chargers sitting good in the catbird seat only after 2 weeks. And the AFC, don't forget, takes a big hit with Burrow basically done for the year. They're saying, by the way, 3 months, and sources are, they're done. He's done. 3 months is being hopeful. How's that sound? Hopeful. And if Browning can't get it done, or they don't bring a veteran in, and I assume Atlanta's phone was ringing up the hook. What do you want for Kirk Cousins? I've heard they're interested in Jameis Winston. Listen, I was a Browning fan at Washington. 2 years ago, he went 4-3. It's like the backup pitcher, the backup whatever. They're a backup for a reason. Once you get a real blueprint, and he just was throwing the ball, says Joe can't go, and he was going on pure adrenaline. Now you practice for a week, a team gets ready. It usually doesn't end well, Scotty.
Well, think about this for a minute. Joe Burrow is, arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, he's not arguably, he is, right? He's probably top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. Now, having said that, his defense that he plays with is like 31st against the run and 32nd against the pass. And there's only 32 teams that, so they said, well, they're going to pressure the quarterback with Henderson. It doesn't matter. If you can't stop the run, you can't stop the pass. Jacksonville should have beat that team. Now, I mean, it is what it is. They scored at the end and won the game, and covered the spread, and and all the other stuff that happy days goes along with that. And the backup quarterback's being celebrated. And I remember last year, or maybe it wasn't last year, maybe it was the year before, when he came in when Joe Burrow got hurt his knee or whatever, and he played a lot of those games. And the first game or two, he was really good, and then he kind of fell off, and was whatever. He is what he is. Look, I get all of that stuff, but this team is, in my opinion, even with Joe Burrow, they're going nowhere. They're going nowhere until they fix the offensive line and they fix the defense. They cannot be in a position where Joe Burrow has to save them every minute of every game, because they can't run the ball. Their running back, his name is Brown. I think he's from Notre Dame or wherever a few years ago. But he's not this big running back that they're going to go out there and gain 100 yards every time that they play. Their offense is all about Joe Burrow throwing the ball to the wide receivers and tight ends that they have, and the offensive line has to hold up. Well, the defenses today are built different. I mean, today meaning in this year 2025, that they all have pass rushers. Guys you never heard of before, but they're all pass rushers. So I don't think Cincinnati is a team to take serious. I think if you bet the over, you're dead on their season wins or any of that stuff. I think you're done. You can go through their schedule. And I saw a tweet the other day that said it was just yesterday. I saw a tweet out there that said, look, I think it's a good value right now to bet Cincinnati over 6.5 wins. And the juice was minus 150. And I thought to myself, are you kidding me? minus 150 on the juice and over 6.5. Who are they going to beat when you got the 31st worst defense or 32nd worst defense in the NFL? Just, I get it. The guy was making the point that it's an overreaction to Joe Burrow. Well, you better have the number one offense in the NFL, and they don't have that either. I mean, the Jamar Chase is a great player. He's a great player. But when you're going to play Baltimore, how many catches is Jamar Chase going to have then, and how many yards is he going to have then? I'm just saying. And they got to play them twice. They had, remember, Jeff, they had 7 yards in the whole second half against the Cleveland Browns, for God's sakes.
I get your spreadsheet up for week 3. I'm just going to go right down the line with the eye test. Indy 3 at Tennessee. I think that's probably, they'll get some Tennessee money here. Indy very fortunate to win last week. Interesting number there for sure. Atlanta.
Hey Jeff, I haven't done a whole lot with that yet. Obviously, you can see it's all blank. If you look at the college one, it'll be way more full than that. But that one there is today's work and tomorrow's work. So.
Yeah, no, I'm just giving out some opening numbers and what my eyes see. Atlanta only 3 against Carolina. Here's an Atlanta team again that shorter week. They played Sunday night. Now this Carolina team 0-2, 1-1 against the number. They backdoored Arizona late there, but only 3, so buyer beware there. Las Vegas and Washington, again, reports yesterday that Jaden Daniels in doubt. They didn't say doubtful, in doubt with the knee. If Washington's favored by 5.5 against Vegas, that's telling me that Jaden Daniels will play. Green Bay, 8.5 at Cleveland. Now, Green Bay has looked phenomenal the first 2 weeks. Cleveland has not. First road game. I'm not saying that Green Bay's not going to win. Just buyer beware there. Cincinnati at Minnesota, the tale of 2 backup quarterbacks. Again, Carson Wentz. McCarthy out 2 to 4 weeks. I don't know if it's a sore toe or sore ego, sore ankle, but I'm calling the little BS here that he's been benched. And then, of course, Jake Brown in there. Minnesota only 1.5 there. The game of the week, or one of them, Rams at Philly. Philly only 4 with a 45.5, Scott. That number jumps out to me. He had 2 great defenses, yet they're expecting some points scored there. Here, guys, I have to be honest with you guys. I'm not the Patriots. I dealt with 2 decades. Okay, you get their fan base are poor sports, sore losers. They looked great against a Miami team that probably the coach will get fired if they get dismantled on Thursday night. My point here is Pittsburgh opened up -1. Pittsburgh traveled to the Jets. They win in a shootout. They come back home. They don't look good against Seattle. This, in my eyes, hands down, is a buy spot on Pittsburgh. Not that I think Patriots are a bad play, but my point is here, numbers are screaming to me. It's a Pittsburgh bounce back. Patriots have won 4 games at home. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the last 3 years. They're 0-1 to start the year against Vegas. They don't play well. Not that they won't as the season progresses, but it's a Pittsburgh number there for me, Scotty. We talked about Tampa. Actually, New England Jets. Am I ahead of? My eyes just bounced. Excuse me. Jets travel to Tampa. That is now 7 there. Short week there. Jets, as you said, Fields in concussion protocol. Houston travels to Jacksonville. Jacksonville -1.5. Houston will be, again, must-win situation there. I mixed reviews there. I'll leave it at that. Denver and the Chargers, 3 to a 2.5 again. It's a Denver or nothing for me. Chargers home opener. Denver coming off that tough loss. New Orleans at Seattle, 7.5. I expect Seattle to win. Tough number there. Dallas at Chicago, a pick 'em. Does Ben Johnson get it fixed? I don't know. Under over 48 in the hook. First one to 30 wins that game. Arizona at San Fran. Mac Jones versus the mighty midget. Opened up basically as a pick or San Fran favorite. Now Arizona -1. San Fran home opener. Kansas City at the Giants, 6.5 to 5.5. Again, I expect Kansas City to win. Loser of that game goes to 0-3, and a great game on Monday night. Detroit at Baltimore opened at 6.5, now 6 with a 51.5. Everyone remembers Detroit putting up the 50 burger on Sunday against the Bears, but you got to remember this, guys. Remember what they did in Green Bay. So again, we could get that version of the Lions that put up 40s and 50s at home, now travel on the road. But I do remember a couple of years ago, they opened up on a Monday night, 6-point favorites at Kansas City, not only covered and win. So again, Scotty, that's just my quick eye test. That's all.
Yeah, no, I get it. I've got a lot more work to do into there, and I'll get more stuff. More data is coming out, so it's easier for me to get some stuff nowadays than before. And I did find a whole bunch of new stuff. So one of the things I think that you got to think about when you're looking at these teams, especially in the NFL, it's almost like Major League Baseball this year. When a team plays at home, they're going to be at their best. And Detroit Lions, because of the fan base, because of what they got going on in Detroit, and because of the stadium they play in, the fast field and stuff, I think that's a big advantage for them. And I thought that was going to be a big advantage for them against Chicago. They can play much faster. Chicago's still trying to learn new stuff because they got a new head coach and all that stuff. So they played slower. And now you're going to get Detroit on the road, and Detroit on the road against Green Bay wasn't pretty, and it wasn't that it was great, but they couldn't stop anything. Green Bay's offense was good. Well, Baltimore's offense is one of the best in the football. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They're fabulous. So I don't think Detroit's going to be able to stop Baltimore. The question is going to be is can Baltimore stop them? Well, hell yeah, they can. They got a great defense. So that game is one I haven't really got. Like the NFL, I haven't touched a whole lot yet. So college football, I've got quite a bit of stuff going. But this is I think there was a couple of things that stood out to me. I think Atlanta's better than I thought they were. And to be honest, looking at grades and performance stuff, Penix hasn't even played well yet. I mean, he hasn't played poor, but he hasn't played well. So when he starts playing well, and he does the different things that he needs to do, I think Atlanta's going to be a good bet on team, probably. The Colts, who else is in that division, right? You got the Colts, you got the Jaguars,
Texans.
Are the Colts the cream of the crop now after two games?
And Titans.
Well, the Titans, right? They're going to be out. They're not going to win a whole lot. So I don't think Jacksonville is going to be the cream of the crop there. I don't know why the Colts can't win this year. We watched Houston. Houston's got a great defense, but doesn't the Broncos have one of the best defenses in all of football? Well, they put up 30 points on them. So I think something's going on in Indianapolis that we got to watch and see what's happening there. And maybe you got a resurgence in a quarterback that's doing stuff, or maybe Shane Steichen has figured out how to get these guys going. But I'm kind of liking Colts too from what I've seen. So especially early, like these teams are a certain image of what they are now. And, 6 weeks from now, they might not be. So, kind of pay attention to what you think they are and play them. Like Miami is a shell of a football team. I don't know if you want to sit there and go, okay, well, I want to take double digits. But the reality is a lot of people are afraid to do that in the NFL. And the truth is, the look ahead number was 10.5. This is now 13. So people are sitting there going, "Man, this team's terrible." Well, remember what was the line in the Browns game with Baltimore last week?
It was really 12.5, 13, and it closed at 10.5.
All right. So and what was the final score? 41-17. It did.
Something like that.
The good teams like Baltimore and Buffalo, for that matter, and that was a divisional game, right? I mean, Cleveland and Baltimore is a divisional game. I think you have to sit there and go, what does the matchup really look like? Is Tua even any good? Can Miami have anything? Can they run the football? And not only can they run it, can they stop anything? I sit there and go, well, Buffalo is one of the best teams in the NFL, and if they're one of the best teams in the NFL, they might win this game by over more than 20. Now that doesn't mean that you want to go bet it, but don't be afraid of it. Don't be one of those guys that goes out there and goes, this is double digits, it's automatic, I got to bet on Miami. Look, those guys I don't think like their head coach. And if they don't like their head coach, they certainly don't give a shit about going out there and getting beat by 13 or getting beat by 25 or whatever. They don't care. They're getting a paycheck. So I think as it kind of goes along here, read and react to what you see to a degree. Remember that the more information you get from one game leads to the next game, leads to the next game, starts to build a little momentum and starts to give you information. It's kind of like poker, right? When the flop comes, now you got a little bit of you got some information. Well, then the betting action gives you more information. Then the next card gives you more information. Same thing with football. Same thing with, sports betting. The more information you have, the better decision choices you can make. And, you and I are going to talk about football lines and all that stuff. But the truth is, we're going to teach you not to bet bad numbers. Don't bet bad numbers. But at the same time, don't be afraid to bet on the teams that are better than the other ones, because that's who wins. The bad football teams don't beat the good football teams. They just don't.
I'm going to switch screens here. Give me a second here, guys. Remove. And stop screen. All right. Give me 1 second here, guys. NCAF. Share. As you said, we got a lot more information here. Here's the college. Thursday night, Rice, Charlotte. Friday night, Tulsa, Oklahoma State, Iowa, Rutgers. And then, of course, a full slate on Saturday. I'm just going to turn it right over to you, Scotty. You said you got some work already done here. So,
well, let me show you a couple things. So farthest to the right before the notes section there's 3 columns. The one, the QBR, you know what that is. That's the QBR rating for the quarterback. And I don't put the rating in there because I don't care about the rating is. I want to know what their rating, their rank is out of all the teams. So that's what the QBR number is. The next one is yards per point margin. I talked about this last week a little bit. So what this means is, everybody looks at yards per play. So they're familiar with, okay, you get 100 yards and you've got 20 plays. You divide the plays into the yards, and now you got yards per play, right? And then they grade teams based off of how many yards per play they get and how many they allow. And they look at the margin between the two and say, well, one team allows more yards per play than the other one. Now let's go look at how many plays they have. Man, you can build them. I got models built off of that. Well, one of the things that I've kind of done over the few years is change things to points per play. So how many points do you get based on how many plays you run instead of how many yards do you get, right? So this is really a base designed on the idea that it takes certain numbers of plays to score a certain number of points for certain teams. Some teams, Jeff, they don't have a lot of plays to score a lot of points because they throw a lot of deep balls, or they get explosive plays, and that's going to shorten that number, right? Or shorten the number of plays it takes to score points. And then what this is the margin between them. So offensively, defensively, here's your points per play. Offensive, defensively, here's your points per play. And then what does that margin kind of look like? So when you look at them, like the first game there, Rice and Charlotte, Rice has a 106 out of 135 schools or whatever, and Charlotte's 131. So that does give you a gauge as to how good these teams really are. Well, it takes a lot of yards for those two teams to score a lot of points. So they're not going to score a whole lot. And then you look at the quarterback play, 130 and 109. That's the worst in college football. And then I put another category in there this week that says SOS. Well, that's strength of schedule, not remaining, not for the season. It's strength of schedule for what they've played to date. So when you look at that, you go, Rice has played the 84th strongest schedule, and Charlotte's played the 118th. So as you kind of go down, you're going to see green spots like that first game there on Saturday. North Texas has a QBR rating for the quarterback at 42. Yards per point margin is 32. And then strength of schedule is 130. So they haven't played nobody. But in the games they have played, the quarterback's done very, very well. He's in the top 40 in the whole country. And their points per play margin has been pretty good. Whereas Army comes in, quarterback's a 65, so he's average. The points per play margin's 82, so it's average. But they've played a better strength of schedule. So there's kind of an edge there in a sense of 32 points per play margin for North Texas. They're going to have a more explosive offense. They're going to have the way to stop the defense a little bit. And then you look at 82. So there's an edge there. And then the quarterback plays pretty well. So then you start looking at the numbers, and people are that game opened Army minus 2.5. Now it is on Monday, North Texas minus 1.5. Providex had it today at 2. So if you're interested in betting on, say, a North Texas when the line is flipped like that, you got to kind of catch it early, or at least at this point catch it before it gets to 3 if it gets there. Now, I'm not sold on this game yet, so I've got it as part of my bet plan to go look at it and kind of research it a little farther. I have found another spot where I can get the data that I'm looking for, and I'm just going to give it out because I think it's cool. If you go to it's called GameOnPaper.com, GameOnPaper.com. You can get all of the statistical information you want from these games, and it's a really cool place. And I mean statistical data in terms of EPA, success rates, all the stuff that I look at anyway, and then like net field position and all of those things. But what was really cool is they've got a little spot where you can click full profile. So if I click full profile, I'm looking at Arizona State right this second. I pull that up. I can see Sam Levitt, for example, has completed only 57% of his passes. That's not really good for a guy that's supposed to be a really good quarterback. And he's got 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 7 sacks. Well, that tells me a lot about their offense. And then I'm looking at the rushing, and they got a guy that's got 300 yards rushing already, and Sam Levitt's got 215. So this is a team that's going to run the football. And when I'm looking at the other team to stop them, in this case that's Baylor, Baylor's defense against the run, they rank 118th. So Arizona State should have some success running the football against Baylor. Now on the other side, Baylor has a passing attack that ranks 52nd in the country. Their pass grade's only 93rd. But the defense for Arizona State ranks 104th in the country at stopping the run. And this is a game where I think that's kind of down there. I don't remember where it is. Baylor. There it is. It's line 62, Jeff. Baylor is now minus 1.5 on ProfitX, open minus 2.5. So I think this is one of those spots where you can kind of look at it and go, if it gets to a point where people go, I got to bet Baylor at home, and you can get it, and it runs it up, and ProfitX is at 1.5. That doesn't mean it's going to move. But if it goes up to, say, 3, now you got a key number. Now you got a spot where it kind of makes a little bit of sense for Arizona State. So I don't have it markered, or I don't have it in here yet. That's just what I was doing prior to getting on the show. Certain other spots I think that are probably pretty good. I think Utah at home against Texas Tech is probably a pretty good spot this week. It's a noon game, so out west, I think that's 11 in the morning. Like for us in the East Coast, it's like 11 in the morning or whatever. So it's an early start. It's a high altitude, and this kid for Texas or for Utah. Let me pull him up. Dan Pierre. I don't know if you're familiar with how good this kid for Utah is. Full profile. There we go. Devin Dampierre, he is 73% completion percentage right now, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, but he's run the ball 31 times for 200 yards too. He's the leading rusher on their team, and he's got 7 touchdowns throwing. He's only been sacked twice, and they've got another running back that's got 200 yards rushing, and another one's got 160. This is a team that can run the ball and throw the ball. And when you look at defensively for the opponent here in terms of Texas Tech, they're good against the run, but they can't stop the pass. So I think when you start to think about what dynamics Utah has, they can put significant stress on this Texas Tech defense. Texas Tech on the other side is going to be running their best. The best thing that they can do is throw the ball. They can throw the ball. They rank 4th in EPA per pass in the whole country. But Utah ranks 2nd against the pass on defense. So it's a good matchup for Utah. So I think that where you sit there and you kind of come into this and you go, the things that Texas Tech can do, Utah can stop. The things that Utah can do, Texas Tech's going to struggle with, and it's a home game in Utah. So I think this is a good spot. Now, if you can get it at 2.5, if it gets to 2.5, wherever that game went, Utah. I don't know, the number's 3, I think, right now. I lost it on my page. There it is. If you can get it at 3 or less, because this game opened at 4.5, and it got bet down to 3.5 or 3. I think if it gets to 2.5, you got a killer play on Utah. I think if it goes to 3.5, you skip the game because the numbers do matter. So I like Utah. I haven't bet Utah. I want to see if it gets to 2.5 because it was 4.5. Now it's 3. Maybe it'll go to 2.5. And if it does, then that's going to be a bet for me. So that's kind of how I look at these things, Jeff. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's what I'm looking at. That was a game. I think another game that I looked at that I thought was interesting is I think everybody in the brothers is going to be in love with Tulane, right? Because how good has Tulane looked? Tulane, Jeff, is line 58 there. Tulane plays Mississippi this week, Ole Miss. And Ole Miss quarterback got hurt, and they had a backup quarterback play last week. Well, the backup quarterback threw 4 touchdown passes and 390 yards against Arkansas. So that was pretty good for that kid. And this week they played Tulane. The opening number was 12.5. It's down to 11.5. And let me pull up those numbers for just a second because I think that it is extremely misleading to here we go. So Tulane, so as a team, their net EPA ranks 65 in the entire country, 65. And when you look at where Ole Miss is, they're in the top 50. They rank 50. But on offense, Tulane ranks 72nd, and on offense, Ole Miss is 20th. On defense, Ole Miss is 21. So EPA per play, they're pretty dominant in the matchup. And then success rate, the offensive success rate, Jeff, that was funny to me was Tulane's offensive success rate ranks 92nd out of 130 schools. I thought it'd be much better than that with a team that's been doing well. but 92nd is not very good, and especially when you're going to play a team like Ole Miss that's 25th. That's a big time difference. And then on defense, the success rate for Tulane, 100. So I sit here and I go, there's no way Tulane's going to be able to stay in this game, because what success rate does and what it measures is the ability to stop a drive, stop a first down, or allow a first down, both on offense and defense. It's talking about gaining the yards to get first downs in success. And they can't stop it, and they don't get it themselves. So they get explosive plays, and that's how they score, and that's all they do. On the other side of the ball, Mississippi can drive the ball, stop whatever Tulane wants to do, and they got better kids. Better kids in a sense of better players. So I think that this is one of those spots where you start to sit here and go, Mississippi minus 11.5 at home, that's pretty good. Let's see if we can get it to 11 or 10.5. What kind of number is that really going to look like? And I'd be all over Mississippi in this spot.
There's some big headliner games that we'll go over again on Thursday. As I was looking, Michigan at Nebraska, open at 1.5. There's some twos out there. Again, Nebraska, you know me, an 80s Nebraska guy, Dr. Tom Osborne, the Wishbone, the Sea of Red. They haven't been there in so long. Matt Rule, year 3. This is the year that he's always been successful. They have not won this game in a long time, so it'll be interesting to see. That's a 3:30 start there. Auburn at Oklahoma. I'm seeing some 6.5s and 6s there. Oklahoma, one of the premier quarterbacks in the game. Auburn, it will be interesting to see which Auburn team shows up there. What else is my eye seeing for some headliners? Florida, Miami, that's up higher here. You talked about Texas Tech, Utah. Let me see here. Where was Florida State? Yeah, against Kent State. Okay. NC State, Duke. Interesting. NC State with a big bounce back on Thursday night last week. Can they do it again there? Where are we?
Well, let me just say one thing about that Duke game, only in a sense that I was listening to somebody and they were talking about, the Sharps have been on Duke the last 2 or 3 weeks in a row and they haven't covered. And because of that, people are going to give up on Duke. And this might be a soft spot where you can watch people give up on Duke and then take Duke and then they blast North Carolina State, because North Carolina State really hasn't been super promising. Well, they've been good, but they haven't played anybody, and not only that, but they haven't been super dominant or any of that stuff. So I think keeping an eye on that line wouldn't be a bad thing.
You surprised that Indiana 4.5, 5-point favorites over Illinois?
Yes and no, because I don't know how the public feels. I think Cincinnati is an asshole, excuse my language, but I don't like him. I think that he's trying to, and he brought in the kids from Liberty or wherever he came from, and he brought all his kids over, and they were good, especially last year, but they don't play anyone. They play no one. And then he tries to rub it all in and do all this stuff, and then when they play good teams, they get slaughtered. Now, I don't know what the national thing is about Bielema and Illinois. Illinois' quarterback has played very well. Altmaier, I think his name is. He's played very well. And Illinois is going to have a good defense. They're going to have a good front seven. They're going to have a good offensive line. But the question becomes I think the athletes on Indiana are going to be better. I just think they're going to have better, faster, quicker kids. And it's a home game for Indiana. So it doesn't surprise me that Illinois is in that spot where they're getting 4.5. I thought it was going to be more like the Iowa-Rutgers game or Michigan-Nebraska's game where they're 3-ish, in that neighborhood. But it doesn't really surprise me. But at the same time that it's 4.5, I don't see people running to the window to go bet Illinois to bring it back down.
No, not at all. And again, you talked about Florida, Miami. Again, this Florida team stunned 2 weeks ago by South Florida, and South Florida, of course, gets the wake-up call at Miami last week. Florida, tough spot last week, and now they got to play Miami again. I like kids. I like bounce-back spots. This Miami team, offense, defense, they play some tough-nosed. Now they're getting pushed into the top 5, and it's well deserved here. Okay, but again, interstate rivalry, team desperate now. Florida team that's lost 2 in a row here, must win, stop the bleeding. We'll hear Billy Napier's name again on the hot seat if they go out and lay an egg here. I expect Miami to win. Wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be shocked Florida to come in and cover. And again, I'm going to throw the lob here on Tuesday. We know how these interstate rivalries go. I still wouldn't be shocked if Florida shocked the world.
Look, here's what I'll tell you about this matchup is Florida's defense has been, say, top 15 in the country. They've been just as good as about anybody else. Now, Miami's has been better than most. And pass rush wise, they got 2 guys on the defensive ends that are just dynamite. So what's impressed me about Miami is you remember last year when they had Ward as the quarterback, it was a not buttoned up kind of offense. It was like hectic, and the guy would run around and make plays and do different things and all that stuff. And they were still good. I mean, they were great. I am shocked. I mean, shocked is a good word for me, that they lost all that talent that Miami lost on offense and on defense. And this team, not only did they sort of, I guess, reload, I guess is a word to use, but they implemented a pro-style type offense because they got a pro-type style quarterback. And this kid, Carson Beck, as far as I'm concerned, he's probably the Heisman Trophy candidate guy right now. He should be up there as good as anybody. And they're going to play. So they played USF, right? That's who they just beat, and they beat them pretty handily. Now they're going to play Florida, and then next after that they're going to play Florida State. So they're going to play all 3 of them, bang a bang, and you watch, and I'm just going to say it out loud, they're going to beat all of them. They're going to beat Florida State. They're going to beat Florida. This Lagway kid, a lot of people like Lagway. He threw 5 interceptions against LSU. Now that what I'm going to say is LSU is now, to me, overrated. They beat Clemson, which was a big win, but Clemson just got beat by Georgia Tech, for God's sakes. So how big a win was it? And when you look at it, Georgia Tech, I think, scored more points than LSU did in that game. LSU's offense is they got to figure that out because their defense is pretty good. But to play with the better schools, LSU's going to have to figure out where they're at on offense because they're not doing it. And I think that when you start to think about how does Miami fit into this, look, who's going to beat Miami? They're not going to get beat in the ACC. They're just not. So I think Miami's going to be one of those teams that's going to basically win the ACC. Miami's going to be in a spot where they're going to be, 1-loss undefeated team going into the playoffs at the end. And depending upon health and, and all the stuff with the kids and everything else, they have every single right to expect to be there and not only be there, but, they've got a veteran quarterback that can lead them to actually success there. Because I don't think you can say that about too many schools. What's Penn State? Well, Penn State's got a good quarterback, but they got to get through some games first. They got to play Ohio State in Ohio. So I think it's going to be one of those spots where, okay, well, can Penn State get there, and can Penn State be a team that's the most dominant team? Can Alabama kind of fight back and get into this run? I think they can, but can they? I think Miami's one of the. I think they're a great team to bet on right now to win, because I don't think people are looking at them to win everything. I think they're just looking at them, oh, they're a good team. I think they can win it all, Jeff.
Well, myself and Scotty will be back on Thursday, 9 a.m. ish. Turn on your notifications. If you haven't yet, jump on over to YouTube, subscribe. It's free at East Coast Sports Investors. Come on back to X, at EC Sports Investing, of course, Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. We'll talk the Thursday night football game where Miami and dead man walking head coach Mr. McDaniel traveled to Buffalo, currently 13-point underdogs there. Yes, a divisional game, short week. Miami has not looked good. Maybe last game for Coach McDaniel, and who knows, maybe last game for Tyreek Hill, as Kansas City is desperate of a wide receiver. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., Matthew George returns from Sports Grid to talk some WNBA, some MLB, some temperature in the Bronx as he's live from NYC. Myself and Scotty will be back on Thursday with the NCAA Insiders at 11 a.m. and Tyler Wyatt. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. Great turnout. Next, guys, tell a friend, share our links, because we got a lot more information coming. Stay tuned.